Welcome to the Legal Navigator Podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca from Law Training Centre. Today we're diving into the topic, legal careers, law degree, what next? If you have a law degree and are curious about your career options, you're in the right place. Stay tuned to learn more. We have a great lineup of guest speakers joining us today, each with their unique insights and experiences in the legal field. But before we continue, let's get to know our guests a little better. It would be wonderful if you could each take a moment to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Voreshka Gosai. I'm a South African attorney practicing in South Africa for the past 18 years. I have completed my law degree in South Africa and I'm currently studying towards becoming a solicitor through the online process at the Law Training Centre.
Thank you, Voreshka. Taram, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Taram Khan. I'm currently practicing a licensed conveyancer at Mackerel Solicitors. I use the Law Training Centre as my way to qualify within the UK, and I've been within the property sector for the last 4 years, and then I eventually decided that I wanted to go towards qualifying, and this was the most easiest and accessible route for myself.
Perfect. And lastly, Sian.
I'm Sian. I'm currently actually starting my training contract next week, and I'm studying my SQE through Law Training Centre. I'm from West Wales and I'm a mature student.
Perfect. Great to see we have our guests joining us from across the UK. Voreshka is also joining us from South Africa. So what we're just going to start off with, it would be great if we could just go around and just explain to our listeners what exactly is your current role and just explain your career journey after obtaining your law degree. Sian, do you want to go first?
Well, my law career started back in 2001 when I did my law degree, and I graduated in 2005. I worked a couple of years then as a legal advocate for the Children's Commissioner for Wales. And in that time, I got married, had a baby and had another baby. And then I had another one 4 years after that. So basically, I was sort of raised in a family and felt that obviously sort of the legal career, particularly back then, because obviously you had to do the LPC and get a training contract. So it was sort of out of my reach at the time. So a couple of years ago then, obviously the SQE route came in and I thought, oh, fantastic, that's going to really suit me now. I'm a single mum now. And yeah, so I decided to go that route, and I started as an admin assistant in November 21 in a local solicitors, only because obviously I was getting back to work, getting back to law. I needed to get my foot in the door again. So I started in November as an admin assistant. I got a role as a legal assistant in the family department in April of 22. I got promoted to legal advisor in October 2023, and I'm now starting my training contract with them next Friday, September 1st.
Brilliant.
So it's been a bit of a whirlwind. The only reason I'm doing a training contract is that that's what the firm has offered. That's how they're sort of helping us with the SQE, which is fine. So yeah, I went through the process and got a contract. So yeah, so that's where I am basically. I'm going to be a trainee solicitor as of next week in the family department. I deal a lot with sort of public law care cases.
Brilliant. So you mentioned about, just growing your family. Would you say that's the main reason why you considered the SQE route, or was there anything else that inspired this SQE route over the traditional LPC path?
Well, it was the flexibility of it, especially obviously with qualifying work experience. As I said, it just happened to be that my firm was offering training contracts, which I applied for. Otherwise, I'd have just stayed with the qualifying work experience. So that was flexible as well, because obviously, yes, you need to do 2 years, but it doesn't have to be in one place. It can be in several different companies, and it doesn't have to be over 2 years. It just has to be 2 years. And also you could get it, as I say, with the Access Law Clinic, for example, now you can get it in other places as well. So that was far more flexible. The cost of it, obviously, I know the exams, obviously, but with the course in particular, obviously the flexibility that I could work full time and do the SQE, and it was online. And obviously you had the option of different length of courses. So I went for the 15-month one because I needed that time. and the cost of it as well, and being able to pay monthly. So it's all, everything really sort of just fell into place when the SQE, came along, and as I say, with yourselves in particular, because obviously, studying law, I always research into whatever I can. And I did research into the Law Training Centre. I just love being a part of it.
Lovely. So, Taram, do you want to go next and just explain a bit about your current role and your journey so far?
Yeah, of course. So I'm currently a licensed conveyancer and I'm practicing at Mackerel Solicitors for the past 2 years. I got my degree back in 2019, and at that point, I luckily had, well, I was experimenting quite a bit with the different law firms, different roles, still trying to figure out whether I wanted to go through the traditional route or not. Then, because I could not decide, because I had gone into family, I had done commercial, I had done corporate work, but not yet figured out exactly what route I wanted to take in. Then I started working at Cavendish Legal Group. And then I realized property was the one for me. So then I did my own research, figuring out how best I can qualify to suit my need. And then the possibility of being a licensed conveyancer through the CLC route was the most, the best option for myself. And it was quick and I could do it as I was also working. So then I had the opportunity to go ahead and do the licensed conveyancer route with the Law Training Centre. And I did it alongside when I was working. So nothing stopped me from doing my exams or my studying, or it did not vice versa affect my work as well. So now I'm practicing completely at my firm and I work within the residential and commercial departments, handling day-to-day matters from sales, purchases, all the way down to remortgages and equity work. So yeah, it's a broad range of the property market that I cover, but doing it through the conveyancer route has been suitable for me because I realized very early on in my career that property was where I wanted to be. So instead of me wanting to go down the traditional pathway of getting a training contract, which I did have the offer for, or going through the LPC route, I chose something different and something a bit more within the niche market. And I thought, well, this suits me better, my lifestyle better. Hence, I went ahead and did the licensed conveyancer route, and then here I am today, enjoying exactly what I do.
Fantastic. So for like just the pathway in general, like taking the CLC route, were there any challenges that you encountered? And if so, how did you overcome them?
In all honesty, there was not many challenges because I had a very great firm supporting me in the sense that I had time to study. I had my own schedule sorted out. I think it's a matter of if you're working and you want to study and qualify, it comes down to you and how you manage work and manage time. So I literally had after work dedicated time and over the weekends and over like annual leave where I would like study and sit down. I over the spread of the year, last year is when I did all my exams. I literally on my annual leaves, that's when I would do my exams. So I had like spread them all out and made it easy for myself. So as far as the content, no, it was not hard for me because I was practically doing the work as well. However, anyone who wants to come into this and go in for it, the work the tutors provide, the support they provide, they're available, they answer your questions, and they can do one-to-ones, which I found very helpful. I think at one point there was a managing accounts topic in level 6, which I was struggling with. Then I got in touch with the tutors who kind of explained to me exactly how I had to answer the questions, do the calculations, and so there was not many difficulties I gathered or went through. However, the little ones I did have the support of the tutors, which made it easier for me to then go ahead, do my exams, and then qualify and pass them.
Fantastic. So for Voreshka, you're currently a lawyer in South Africa and you are looking to dual qualify for the SQE route. For those who don't know, could you explain to our listeners what dual qualification is and just provide like an overview of the process with the SQE and like the main steps involved and how it differs from the traditional qualification route?
Thank you, Rebecca. With regards to dual qualification, you've got for example, with me, I have an LLB from South Africa, a South African university, and that allows me then to go into do the SQE1 and the SQE2 thereafter, and you will be exempted from any qualifying work experience So that was quite attractive to me personally. And that is different to the normal route that you exposed to. That was what is particularly attractive and what was I was looking for actually.
Great. To give advice for anyone who's considering this pathway as an international learner, what advice would you give to law graduates or professionals who are seeking a similar pathway, especially if they come from like a different legal jurisdiction?
Personally, from my perspective, and the advice that I could give is look for something flexible. The Law Training Center offers a lot of flexibility with regards to the SQE courses, SQE 1 and 2. For me personally, the flexibility does help because you can work during the day and then you can also pace yourself with your studies. Also, it's quite a seamless process. Prior to me looking into it, I thought it was quite daunting and that it was going to be quite an exhausting process, in all honesty, to dual qualify again, study another 4 years and have to do training contracts. But when I actually looked into it, I actually found that it was not going to be that burdensome. It was going to be quite flexible. The degree that I currently have, the LLB, was based on English law and Roman Dutch law, which is very similar to the law that's offered in the UK. So there was lots of similarities with regards to that.
For those who are probably just wondering, why should I dual qualify? So just from your perspective, Voreshka, what are some of the practical benefits do you think there is holding dual qualification?
I think besides just expanding your horizon, for me, I found, practicing in one jurisdiction for a long time, you know it, you want to expand your horizons, you want to expand your knowledge base as well. Also, with the global market currently, a lot of companies have businesses globally. So being familiar and affair with laws from a global perspective is quite beneficial. It makes you more marketable, in the legal arena, whether you want to go into legal advising, whether you want to engage with corporate companies, whether you want to travel maybe overseas and work for a while. So it does really open the doors, doesn't restrict you. And I think in this day and age, we need to consider that what expands our horizons with regards to making you more marketable and exposing you to global companies and global concepts.
Great. So I know a couple of you touched on it very briefly, just the financial aspects of things. I mean, I would like to delve into it just a little bit deeper, just because a lot of the common concerns for a lot of aspiring legal professionals is the financial aspects of funding their studies to qualify. So whether that's the increase in university fees or the law school fees, like for the LPC. I know, so if you just take into consideration today's rising cost of living. So would you say for any of you, the financial aspect was one of the main factors that influenced your choice on the non-traditional pathway to law?
For me, yes, because as I said, it sort of, it allows me to still work, whereas with the LPC, it would have been difficult because I would have had to go, down that route with a family, either one income or whatever coming in, and student loans and things, if I went down that way. So this way, the SQE route, one, I can still work full time and earn the money. But as I say, especially with, as I said, the Law Training Centre as well, it was the flexibility of the monthly payments. And obviously we've got the scholarship as well. I think that's fantastic now, the scholarship open as well. So for myself, it was a huge part of why I went down the SQE route with regards to the actual course itself, definitely.
So Taram, I don't know if you had any like challenges, and if so, how did you navigate through that while transitioning or studying?
I've been very lucky in this sense, Rebecca, that the firm I work with, they were the ones who funded the entire course. So I had no financial situation in this sense because they were very supportive in the sense that I qualified because they thought that I could go further in my career. So my firm was the one who's funded all of this. Yeah, it's been very straightforward, and I think it is. Had I wanted to fund it myself, I would have, and I could, and I would. And it is very easy for anyone on a day-to-day life to fund it for themselves because of the payment plan you can set up. It's more accessible, and yeah, it's just, I think, the ease of access and the way you can use all the content that the Law Training Centre and the people who work with them provide you as a candidate, as a learner, is far more, I believe, greater than I think what I've experienced at university, because I feel like over here, though it's all online, it is still one-to-one, and you can have your fair share of communication with the tutors and the students as well, actually, on the forums that are there for you. But however, within university, sometimes you feel like you're a number. So I think on the funding aspect, it's more convenient, it's easier for anyone who's wanting to qualify with their day-to-day life and family life and with everything going on. So no, personally, I've had no issues because my firm's the one who's funded for everything.
So I know Sean touched on the scholarships for SQE, but we also have the Open to All scholarship, which is available for most of our course like licensed conveyancing with the CRC. So we're happy to provide anyone with further information about that. So I just want to touch on just about any specific strategies or tips that you can give people. I know, Sean, you mentioned, the busyness of having children. So whether that's juggling parenthood or just a demanding career. I know for Taram, it can be rather hectic dealing with conveyancing. And obviously, Voreshka, you are an actual practicing lawyer and also a lecturer as well with us. So could any of you just share specific strategies or tips that you've used to manage your online learning experience alongside your professional responsibilities?
Yeah, sure. So what I used to do was I broke down the course into like 3 or 4 different sections. So for example, when I was doing level 4, I broke it into 2 separate scenarios for myself, and then I would have or draft myself like a study plan in which I'd have to cover. For example, I give myself 2 months or a month for each course, and then I would do a little draft of a plan where I can cover certain parts of the course, and then go online and go through the PowerPoint, the presentations, then do practice questions. Because when I realized, in all honesty, after going through the course, going through the books that are provided to you and the online forum and presentations, everything is all great. However, it all comes down to you practicing past paper questions which come up. And when you do draft answers, you can send it to the tutors, who can then at the same time, they give you feedback as how you can get it further, how you can get a higher mark. So I had a really simple plan where I would start off purely with the book, do my course or studying, then I would use the book and then go on to the presentations available. And then the last thing I would do is go on to, the practice questions, do a lot of practice questions, send it to the tutors, and then come back, and then they would mark it. And then I would be more confident in then going into the exam, knowing that I know how to answer these questions, I can get the top marks. So I think that's the easiest way to approach it. It's you get your coursework done, your studying done, and then it all comes down to, I believe in any exam, the practice questions, because you'll realize there is, for example, within property conveyancing especially, there is a similar trend of kind of questions that you get within each course that you do. So from level 4 to level 6, there are very similar questions that will come up. And that kind of makes it easy for you as a student, because then you don't feel like you're overwhelmed with what could come up. Because, for example, the books that are there for the level 6 are far more thicker than the level 4. So as a student, you do get kind of like, oh my God, can I do this? Will I be able to cover all the courses? Can I get the exam done? But however, because you can break it down, and in the book itself as well, each section is broken down into different subsections. You can then say, okay, well, one weekend I'm going to focus on this one. Second weekend I'm going to do this. And then the last weekend, a week or 2 before your exam, you can start doing exam paper questions and then asking the tutors to assist you with the structure. Because the one thing I really asked tutors was, and I'm really keen on, is understanding the structure of the exams and the way the tutors and the markers would like the exam questions answered. I think within any essay related or any written related exam that you'll ever do, structure forms are an important part. So my focus because I knew majority of the content, my focus was purely on the structure. Once you've gone down through the entire course, you'll realize at the back of the book, you've got how to structure your answers, and which is supported by the forum presentations, where there is a whole presentation dedicated to how you are supposed to answer exam related questions. So I found it really easy, where I broke everything down, had a really simple plan that I would attack this subject on this day I would cover this. And by the time I was near the exam time, I was purely doing exam paper questions. And it just made it more easier and accessible. And with the tutors being there, even through the bank holidays, that they will answer you and support you as much as they can. It made it easier, and it made me more confident in answering and preparing myself for these exams.
Great, thanks, Taram. So, Shana, Voreshka, any further tips? Those were fantastic tips from Taram.
So with starting the process, studying through the SQE1, I've just tried to formulate a plan. What I have noticed, though, is terms of the workshops and the question support through the Law Training Center tutors has been very helpful to guide you through any questions that you might have, and just helps you understand the content a little bit better, so it reinforces it. So from my point of view, I've just started through going through the material and then also looking at the questions that have been posed to try and support my studying through this.
Fantastic. So you're all coming from very unique journeys and very interesting journeys, but just looking back at what's happened so far in your career, what has been the most rewarding aspect? So if we start with Sean, what's the most rewarding aspect of your transition to the SQE route?
There's lots of things, really. As I say, I think the most for myself, career-wise, obviously, it's securing the training contract, which is fantastic. And it's just lovely because, as I say, I've got the training contract now, which is something I never thought I'd be able to achieve. And I feel that because I've taken on the SQE myself, and that's shown them the determination that I've got, obviously, to do this. For me, it's rewarding enough as well so that my children can see that it's never too late. I am a mature student. I'm going back into law after a big break. So it's lovely for me that my family can see, my children can think, well, actually, anything is possible. I've wanted to do law since I finished school. So to be able to come back into it now and actually train as a solicitor, it just means the world to me at the moment.
Brilliant. So Taram, what's been the most rewarding aspect taking the CLC route?
I think it was the fact that it's available. It's another option. It's a newer option for candidates who, like the other guests have said, they have so many different. Everyone's, I believe, is at a different stage in their life. Some are very young, some are mature, some are much older, and we all at some point realize that, well, we want to do something else. And when you realize that, and there are no options, it kind of puts you down. However, within this, no matter if you're 20, you're 19, you're 35, you're 45, you have that accessibility and that option to use a non-traditional route to qualify. And just seeing that makes it more and more rewarding, because it makes you realize, oh, so I can still study. And there's a saying, I believe, that there is no age of studying or of learning, and learning never ends. So I believe that the most rewarding part is whether currently in my 20s, I've been able to qualify very early, whereas a lot of my friends who have done the traditional route have not yet qualified, and they're yet to qualify within the next 2 years. I've done it earlier on, and I'm practicing as a licensed conveyancer. So I'm working my PQE years now, which has been one of the most rewarding things, because I've got my head straight into the game and I'm working. There is no time wasted. However, it's great. People who are taking the traditional route, it suits them better. This suited me better because at the time when I realized which part of law is best for me, I figured out, well, look, there is an easier way to qualify. There is a more accessible way to qualify, and I don't have to stop working. I can do it alongside that. So I thought that was the most rewarding thing, that I was able to do it within a year in the most easiest way possible, with the most support from the Law Training Center, and to the fact that today I'm sitting here talking to you guys as a guest, advising you that you have to choose whatever is best for you. And in that situation, this was the best option for me. And at the end of the day, we all have this goal that we want to qualify, whether it's the traditional route or the non-traditional route. As long as you qualify, I believe that's the most rewarding part. So I've qualified, I'm very happy, and I'm taking my career onto the next stage now. So the most rewarding part is the fact that there is an option for everyone out there. If you're willing to want to put your effort and time into it, then you should definitely consider the non-traditional routes because they're more accessible. I believe there is a shortage currently of a lot of training contracts, getting the accessibility. So the SQE route is fantastic for those who are wanting to be a solicitor. For example, a lot of my friends have gone off and done accounting degrees and finance and business degrees, and they've realized, well, we don't want to do finance, we want to do law. So they can simply convert and do the SQE now. So that access has made everyone simply happier, because now you don't have to stay unhappy at your job and in your career, when you can simply get up and start a new page with a new course. And at the end of the day, you'll be a lawyer, you'll be a solicitor, you'll be a licensed conveyancer, and you'll be much happier at your job.
Brilliant. And lastly, Voreshka, any rewarding aspects of the dual qualification route?
Thank you, Rebecca. Just picking up on what Sian and Taram has said, the flexibility, the fact that there's an opportunity available, not only from an age perspective, but in my instance, from a different country's perspective. The fact that I'm in South Africa and that I can have this opportunity to study the SQE and to write the exam is an amazing opportunity. And it's something that, it doesn't matter where you are. You're studying, remotely. You don't have to sit in lectures. You, in the comfort of your own home, you have the support and guidance of amazing tutors.
Fantastic. If you guys can give one piece of advice to law graduates exploring alternative careers path, what would it be? Just one piece of advice from you each. Taram, do you want to go first?
So one of the best pieces of advice would be simply to sit down with yourself for a minute, think it through, and really understand where you want to go. Because I believe whether it's a job or whether it's studying or whether it's any part of your life, as long as you're happy and content doing it, you will carry on doing it for the long term. Do your research, see what's the best options for you. And you know what? There's nothing wrong in going the non-traditional route, because at the end of the day, you might just qualify quicker than your friends and be practicing sooner than later. So yeah, that's my best piece of advice I would give any law graduate.
Fantastic. Sian, what would be your one piece of advice for law graduates exploring alternative career paths?
Pretty much what Taram said really is there's absolutely nothing wrong with not doing the traditional method of qualifying. And, if in doubt, I think it's sort of test the waters as well. If you don't have to go straight in. As I say, I went into a firm as an admin assistant. So if you're finding that you're coming up against a brick wall, just try a different method, try a different route to get into a firm. And that's the same as qualifying as well, and going down the non-traditional route as well. If you feel you can't do it one way, look for another way to do it. There's plenty of opportunities out there, but just don't give up.
Fantastic. Great advice. And Voreshka, anything to add before we move on?
I agree with Sian and Taram. If the opportunity presents itself, I think also just research it through and look at other avenues, because there are various opportunities out there and available to you, and you just have to explore them.
Fantastic. Great advice.
Thank you for tuning into the Legal Navigator podcast. We hope you found today's episode informative and engaging. If you have any questions or need more information, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can send us an email to info@ltckent.com or visit our website at ltckent.co.uk. Until next time, stay tuned for more episodes.